Welcome back to Imperial Wealth's Crypto Chronicle podcast, where we're recording a history book of all the events that have happened in the cryptocurrency industry. We're going to be reporting to you on a weekly basis, so let's head live over to our team right now to discuss all things that have happened in cryptocurrency this week. All right, guys, welcome back. We got a full house again this week. We got Mitchy boy. How are you?
Yeah, g'day. I'm well.
Taylor.
Mate, ready for the history lesson? Let's go.
Everyone knows your nickname now. Taylor.
It's with a capital L.
Taylor in folklore.
Yeah.
Lore. All right. Well, we've got a pretty stacked episode this week. Again, we'll be tapping on some regulation that's going on, ETF updates. We have a very exciting announcement, which is the launch of the Day Trading Academy, which is, really good. I think you got a couple of people onto that just this morning.
Yeah, we had a few applications in the last few days, so it's been really good fun going through and seeing if people were, up for the challenge.
Day Trading Challenge.
It's good fun.
Very good. Well, we'll tap on that in more detail later and give everyone a bit of an update of our course, which has been out for a couple of months now. We've seen people really accelerate through that, and we'll give you a bit more information about what the Day Trading Academy involves, which is a branch off of the course. So, Mitchell, into the fundamentals. How's everything going? What are we looking at first?
Yeah, well, towards the back of the end of last week and the start of this week, it seems like it's the same every week, actually, with Binance. And I think we've probably spoken about it on every podcast and probably briefly mentioned it last week. But just combining two probably real news stories is there was more mass departures last week from Binance US. Now, it's probably pretty important when you talk about Binance to distinguish between Binance itself as the company and Binance US, because a lot of people, see everything happening to Binance US, which is a very small arm of Binance International, and think the whole world's crumbling down. But
they're just gone on holidays, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Until Gary resigns, they're just on holidays. So.
Extended leave.
So they had their head of legal and their chief risk officer leave last week, which is following. I think we spoke on Brian Schroeder's resignation last week, but essentially here it's just the same thing that people are getting fed. It's just regulatory pressure, it's prompting, a lot of these people to leave. But, it's interesting because CZ, he comes out and addresses the speculations and always probably has to affirm that, these people, it's normal, the turnover, and Brian was just taking a deserved break and has to dismiss the rumours and defend Binance to the hills. So it's a bit of a shaky situation at the moment, I believe. I don't really side on any side. I do like CZ and I do hope that he's done the right thing, but, this is crypto.
It's the hardest industry to plan for in a HR sense, because in 2 years they're going to need 15 times the amount of people they have now, and then they're only going to be there for another year. There's always a lot of churn.
That's exactly what was coming to my mind. That looks like they're exiting, and then does the bull market come around? Oh, they've got to put everything to come back together.
It's like a sponge. Squeeze it all in and then get it all out.
Yeah, and it's amazing to look at Binance, even in the sense of, they've definitely, since FTX copped the largest amount of FUD from any crypto organization, and they're still the strongest. And a lot of people do wish for their downfall, and crypto and Bitcoin will eventually move on, but I guarantee you those wanting them to seize and their downfall to occur, that their back pockets will probably be pretty hurt by it.
Yeah, exactly.
And 100%. So will the industry. But, if they have done the wrong thing, then the bad actors do have to get cleaned out. And it's, it's the same as FTX, same as Luna, 3AC. I mean, the list can go on really in this bear market. But I think, until any hard evidence kind of comes to light to really show that they, commingled with customer funds or did shady stuff with loans, that, you can't really have a stance until, it's all figured out. But I think I joked the other day when, the SEC got denied accessing their surveillance or whatever it was, or
what was it called? Isn't there taps or something like that?
It was something specific with their software, and there was all this back and forth, and it's so vague. And I joked that, we'll be listening to this case into 2027 at this rate. So,
do you reckon that all the FUD and all this drama goes away as soon as Bitcoin just starts rocketing? Like, do you reckon it's just going to get louder, or it'll just be completely like rear vision mirror?
Well, it's a good point that you make, even about FUD. And, I said this to Trading Academy members, early this year when Bitcoin was rising very fast, And I said, it wasn't a bull market yet, but, when Bitcoin had so much confidence in rising and people were confident is when, Coinbase, all in the 1 week, Coinbase, Kraken, Binance sued by the SEC. I said, if this happened last June, Bitcoin would have dropped by 30%.
Yeah.
But it's funny when the price is moving in the right direction, it's irrelevant. And people, it almost becomes irrelevant. But we'll quickly touch on another centralized exchange that ceases to currently exist, I believe. But we touched on this last week, but the FTX, we were talking about how, they were going to have to sell a lot of their crypto holdings, and there were rumors, but officially at the end of last week, they received judicial authorization to liquidate their cryptocurrency holdings. I briefly spoke over about how, there was so much FUD around this event. And it's actually proven in Solana's price. I think last week Solana was at $17 or maybe tapped 16 or at least low 17s, and it's above $20 now. So it's funny when things get cleared and people cheat out of their positions over, silly stuff they don't look into. And, I told people to look into it and say, those Solana coins are locked up until 2028 or whatever it is. They're going to have to, whoever buys them OTC is going to have to buy the vesting contract of those and wait for them to be unlocked, etc., etc.
I've got some numbers here on what it is exactly they're selling. So on your article you put there's $3.4 billion worth of assets that are going to be liquidated.
Lazy.
Just lazy.
Just lazy 3.4.
Just sitting there in the background.
Surprised they found that, to be honest.
Oh, literally.
I don't know how you can go bust with 3.4 mil.
Well, look at what they did.
I know, but still, jeez.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there's $3.4 billion of total assets. 1.1, which is Bitcoin. So probably not going to have. Oh, sorry. The 1.1 is Solana. Which is vested over the years. So probably not going to have an instant sell off on that. Yeah. $560 million worth of Bitcoin. Not exactly a drop in the ocean, but considering, not a massive deal. $192 million worth of Ethereum. And then the one that we do highlight, which is one of their biggest holdings, which could have a bit of an impact, was Aptos with 137 million.
Yeah, so I think I did mention that last week as well. And if you do hold Aptos, that's probably the only one to worry about. Just given its volume per day, its liquidity and its market cap is that amount that FTX holds. And you have to remember that FTX was a massive VC in projects like Solana and Aptos, and that's why Aptos lifted up so big initially because of a company like FTX. So they do hold a large amount. So if you do hold Aptos, maybe be a bit skeptical there. But I think for all those other alt holders, BTC, ETH, Solana, you don't have to worry too much about this. And it's just pretty much a fair bit of FUD.
Do you reckon they're going to offload it? Because they're going to have to offload something straight away.
That's the thing as well, right? Is it's 3.4 billion now, but you also, I don't know where we're at in this stage of the market.
Do they have to make people whole?
No, well, I don't know if they have a vested amount of time that they have to sell it in. I probably need to look into that before making official statements, but if you were them, would you not wait a bit?
Yeah, absolutely you will. They've been approved to sell $100 million per token per day, but, any reasonable person is not just going to dump 137 million in a day. Like, why would you do that? And
for something like Solana or even Aptos, or I can't remember a few of the others, but some of those are at not all-time lows, are at bear market lows. So you're essentially back gambling on them to dump the tokens at their lows, as opposed to potentially waiting 6 months and instead of having 3.5 billion, having 7 billion and almost making their company whole. I think they lost 8 billion or 10 billion, wasn't it? So
10.
To finish off that there, so that kind of covers around 2/3 of the holding, and I guess the rest of the holding is just $20 to $50 million in wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped ETH, Dogecoin, Matic, all these smaller projects.
I will make one comment actually, though. It was funny yesterday or the day before in some of the FTX files being released about Samuel's father threatening him by telling his mum that his 200k pay packet from FTX wasn't enough and he thought he was getting $1 million and sent him emails saying, I might have to mention this to mum if it doesn't get raised to $1 million. So
does anybody wear the pants in that house or what?
I don't think so.
Didn't they just got sued as well, right?
Yeah, I think I think it's all unwinding now. I think Stanford today announced that they're giving back all the donations that FTX gave to them.
How much was that?
Parents are being asked for all the money back. The Bahamas houses. I wasn't sure the amount on Stanford. I can look it up. But it would be nice to see the congressmen and congresswomen that got the donations during the political
that'll never happen
elections to give their money back, but I doubt we'll see that. But
Mitch, they can't even pay back their 33 trillion debt. Like, come on, man, you know what I mean?
Which is now up to $1 trillion in interest repayments or whatever it is. But so I guess the FTX thing, coupling it with Binance, all these fundamental fears kind of constantly hang over the market during a deep bear market that can withhold people from investing, or worse, selling a lot of their crypto out of fear for another black swan. But there's a few lessons in this. Of course, you don't always have to believe everything you hear and you read, and you should look into it further. But just probably lastly on the regulation stuff, moving on to CBDCs again that we've spoken about in the past. The US government, the GOP representatives reintroduced an act to halt the digital dollar and preserve people's privacies. I think we did speak on this last week, but what actually happened this morning is it got signed off by the Financial Services Committee. So it looks unlikely for the time being that there'll be a CBDC.
Yeah.
In the States.
I was doing some reading. I typed in, as I was reading these notes, how far along have CBDCs actually come along? And I found a good article on Atlantic Council, which is basically US's relationships with its allies. And it said that there's 64 countries that have gone into advanced stages of looking to deploy a CBDC. 20 of those have launched pilots, including Russia, Japan, Brazil, Australia, whole heap of others.
Yep.
And interesting enough, they put quite a distinction between the types of CBDCs, putting some into wholesale CBDCs and some into retail CBDCs. And then, of course, you've got a hybrid wholesale where it would just be banks being able to trade with each other with the digital coin, and retail opening up to anyone to be able to, as I would transfer you $50 on the weekend or whatever it is. So yeah, definitely, it's interesting to see that. I saw that Japan probably had the best roadmap for their CBDC, but they said at the start of this year that they'll have a decision by 2026 whether they'll be using it or not.
It takes people that long, but it only took China a couple bloody months is what it seemed like. They've already got theirs integrated into their system. I was reading stuff online, or maybe someone from CoinStash actually told me that it's already integrated into their WeChat, if you know that WeChat that's got all financials and you can send transactions through it. So I don't think there'd be too much privacy in China any longer with your money.
Can't you pay with your fingerprint or something over there? I've seen videos.
So that's probably attached to the CBDC or whatever. So
it was your eye, wasn't it? You scan your eye or something?
I've seen people do it with fingerprints, everything. Like
scan of the eye was WorldCoin.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Scan of the iris, but
I'll do it with my toe.
Which one?
Well, that's a good question, actually.
Which one do you want?
Probably the left little piggy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's the prettiest out of all of them.
Yeah, ping pong wouldn't be very good during our lunch breaks.
Mate, even with that balance, I'd still smack you.
Well, it's just moving on to kind of CBDCs, but more importantly, bank stable coins. Recently, shout out to Duncan from CoinStash, who's the biggest Chainlink maxi that I know, it seems.
But the Slinky Linky.
Yes, Slinky Linky. But obviously, ANZ, that most of you listeners should know, a leading Australian bank. But they've actually been making strides in adopting tokenized assets recently through successful collaborations with Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol, which is CCIP. Essentially what they did recently was complete a test transaction using their ADC stablecoin, which is an ANZ-issued New Zealand dollar-denominated stablecoin. So whilst it's hilarious that a few of us are getting our transactions blocked by ANZ to exchanges.
Come on, ANZ, lift yourself.
They now want to use our blockchain technology and smart contracts to conduct their own transactions. Well, can you conduct my transactions, please?
That is legitimately the definition of throwing a rock in a glass house.
Oh, yeah. And they've been using that. Last year I did an article on it, for those that remember, their use of carbon credits. I think it was with the Smorgon Group, from memory. That's despite the jokes, it's still really good to see large institutions, particularly in Australia, for us Australians, adopting blockchain technology. And you always wonder, even if you told someone from retail or someone that's not involved in cryptocurrency, these banks are blocking my money to exchanges, they go, of course they are. But they probably look at the other side of these banks adopting our technology, and that's probably here to stay, given that they think it's more efficient for them to use than other measures. So
I wonder if you could pull this out as a use case when you go to transfer from ANZ to whatever exchange, CoinStash.
They act like they know all the answers. The lady that was talking, I was mentioned in the previous podcast, I like, do you know what you're doing with your mumble wallet thing? But yes, I know what I'm doing, been in it for many years.
I'm sending Chainlink. You guys do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the recourse?
Literally. So, well, that's very interesting stuff. We've got a little bit more to cover off.
Just quickly, following on from the institutional adoption that we're talking about becoming greater and greater, the heat is further on in the ETF approval in the States. So Franklin Templeton, which I can't remember, they do have trillions under asset management. Yeah, thought it was about 1.6. But they're essentially another heavyweight. Oh, there we go. It does say. They plan to list on the CBOE BZX exchange. So theirs is kind of a trust as well. So same as all the other ETFs, it'll track the price of Bitcoin's price performance, and their institutional clients can use their superannuation, whatever it may be, to then invest in a Bitcoin ETF. So, with Grayscale defeating the SEC recently, there's just more and more heat for these to be approved. I think it's October 17th is the date that they got delayed to. So SEC have to decide by then. And then, just to add on to that, we spoke last week about Cathie Wood's ARK Invest ETH submission that they want to get the first ETH ETF, and we also had the Nasdaq's Hashdex come in and do that with a special blended one. All articles for these topics will be included in the Chronicle if you want to kind of read the specifics on the ETFs and how that work. And
does anybody reckon there's going to be another one? So it's obviously BTC and ETH. What do you reckon's next?
Well, to be honest, I guess you can create an ETF for most things, but I think the stepping stones are obviously BTC and ETH. I don't know if institutions such as these ones would be willing to risk on other networks because you just have to look at the sheer size of big. Because if you're getting your institutional clients in coins like Solana that are sponsored by FTX and stuff, you're only asking your institutional clients probably get wrecked. It's a lot different with ETH and BTC with their networks, how secure they are and the volume and the liquidity. So maybe down the line. I don't think anytime soon, though, to answer your question. And then just lastly, this morning, to cover off the fundamentals with the Federal Reserve's decision to pause interest rates, which was sitting at a 99% probability. So it was heavily priced in, at least on Bitcoin. Bitcoin didn't move. Dipped to 26,800, but we'll talk about the technicals in a sec. So essentially what's happened here is whilst the pause is very dovish, and it has been the prior one, I think we pumped pretty hard off of it because we had so many consecutive rate hikes that finally gave us a breather. But essentially what's happened here is it's more of a hawkish pause, and the language they kind of used was, rates might be higher for longer. We don't think there's going to be a recession, but there might be slower, economic growth, this type of stuff that just came out of Jerome or Jebediah's mouth looking forward. So, but they did say they anticipate a reduction in rates for 2024. But we'll have to see. This stuff changes on a dime.
Have they stuck to their plan? Because originally it was pause, drop, raise, and they were going to muck around with it.
Yeah. But it does change.
Quote unquote,
based on the data.
Sustained evidence of declining inflation before we reach stable rates.
Yeah. So, but it's important to note that back to the ETF thing on October 17th, I don't think there's a rate hike next month, but there's still CPI data to come out, and that'll still tell you the story of the next rate hike. So within that week, we could get some of the most volatile price action we've seen in a while. So
early bets?
Huh?
Any early bets?
I still think the ETFs get delayed as much as they can.
Again?
Yeah, till 2024.
After this next one.
Till 2024, jeez.
Yeah, well, I think the maximum they can is till then, I believe. I'll have to double check that. But
if it got approved when Bitcoin was above 30 to 35K, I could see it. A big moonshot. If it got approved now,
40.
I don't know.
It's I don't think anyone knows, because even looking back at the gold ETF, when it got approved, like, yes, it pumped, but it didn't pump. It was like 6 months to 12 months of probably the institutions accumulating it before, and then it was when the client started buying into it.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, you're going to get a buy the rumor, sell the effect of like, oh my God, it's approved. But that probably only has an influence if Bitcoin's above the 35K. But then you're going to get the actual effect of them being approved and these institutions buying up, for the ETFs.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things to consider, but, as I've said on the podcast previously, and most people know what I think the markets are forward looking. So, yes, an announcement and approval could give a moonshot, but like we saw, BTC pumps get reversed just as quickly as they go up. So could be buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. Before we get into mining, I'll quickly just touch off the back of that rate pause and what happened in the markets overnight in reaction. But last week when I spoke about Bitcoin, we were actually at 24.9K and we were testing at prior high low at 24.75K. I think we got to 24.85 or 24.8. It was its lowest touch, so it didn't actually touch our prior high low on spot exchanges. And in the 9 days since we've done the podcast, we're at 27K. So it's been a fair movement since we last spoke to you. That rally was really nice. And, we got up to as high as 27.5K. And it's since been retreating around the 27K area. Now, the news surrounding interest rate pause and, potential rates for hires meant that DXY has actually pumped to about 105.6 before I walked in this room. I could probably quickly check my phone, but I won't. But as a result, because of the inverse correlation of the DXY to the traditional markets in particular, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ have tanked fairly hard today because of the pump in the DXY. Bitcoin hasn't blinked, which makes me quite eerie. But at the moment in this year, and I was actually speaking about it to people yesterday, what's been so hard with Bitcoin this year from a technical analysis standpoint is that it followed the stock market so hard towards the end of 2021, all throughout 2022, and it got to 2023 and decided to change its mind. So, it hasn't tanked today. In the past, if you saw the ES go down 1%, you'd see the Bitcoin go down 6%. If you saw stock market pump 3%, Bitcoin would go up 10%, vice versa. And they were all inverse correlated to DXY, but Bitcoin's had a mind of its own in the last 6 months. So what we're looking for here on the DXY is hopefully there's a hidden bearish divergence on the 3-day. Hopefully for our bullish cases that can come out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it take out the liquidity at 105.8 and potentially head as high as 108 before a reversal if we get rate cuts towards the end of the year, or we get favourable macroeconomic conditions that don't mean that the dollar finds some strength. So I think that'll depend obviously on Europe, China, Japan, liquidity and what they do as well. But irrespective, the Trading Academy has continued to monitor their investments, with DCAs recently looking really good. I think we spoke about that last week when we had that dip.
That buy on that coin that we won't mention to non-members was the bottom of the local.
Yes, it was the Pico
It made me look like some sort of genius at the boxing gym. Told a few boys about it that day, sent out the text message, got in there, and it's only gone up since.
Oh, there you go.
How far up is it now? When I checked, it was
we got it at 75 cents. It's at 85 now.
Yeah. I'm sure people can figure it out.
Yeah, someone will.
Yeah, but
10-cent increase.
So we've had the Day Trading Academy released.
Yes, absolutely. So I reckon watching people go through that day trading course has been one of the more rewarding, I suppose.
Bobby.
Bobby is impressive.
Shout out to Bobby.
Yeah, nice Bobby's doing real good.
Shout out to Danny Cross.
Yeah, Crossy.
The boys are doing well. But so we released the day trading course, would have been pretty much 2 months ago now. And had about 20 students get on board. We limited it to that so we could give the right mentorship. We understand day trading is not something you're going to learn, within an hour or two. It does take a little bit more dedication. Those guys have been going through a monthly competition at the moment.
Yeah.
And
been extended a little bit, I reckon.
Yeah,
we're still having fun.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, we can always do another one. What's the prize for it? $200 US?
I think for the best trader, and then I decided a prize for the one that displayed the most kind of effort towards the education and instilling what the course tries to teach you. Because no matter what you try to do, people try to do their own thing. Just punt, of course, with leverage. But So yeah, there's a few prizes there, and I think we will wrap that up soon, and then potentially with the release of the academy, create a new competition for everyone.
That's exactly right. And so, yeah, that's been really good. And as you just said at the end there, those 20 students are getting pretty close, I reckon, that they'll be able to trade autonomously. And we have released the Day Trading Academy. So the difference between the day trading course and the academy, obviously you don't go through a course. You just go straight into reading Mitchell's live updates on, BTC setups, ETH setups, altcoin setups. So if maybe the course is something that's out of your price range, or you feel confident enough to go straight in the deep end, fill out the application form. You'll find it on our website under the Day Trading Academy. So yeah, that's pretty cheap entry price, $99 a month. Get involved and see if it is for you. You can talk with all the members, all the experts out there as well.
Yeah, should add that in as well, that there's a community of like-minded traders that we all lean on each other's ideas. Shout out to Anthony, he's really new to the course, and the other day he sent me a chart of ETH. It wasn't fully correct, but I looked at it and I instructed to him, you probably need to plan forward for a better entry price, because what you're doing right now is too tight of invalidation and you're entering a bit of no. I won't get into it, but essentially he gave me an idea. I said do this, and I took the idea myself and was able to get a very profitable short on ETH. So exchanging ideas, community chat, there's a really good feel to it.
The most rewarding part of it that yes, we start off as experts and teach these people, but then they come to us with ideas, we all share them, and more eyes on the market the better. So definitely worthwhile if you are interested in trading to have a look at a cheaper entry level, which would be the Day Trading Academy.
Yeah.
Jump into some mining. Taylor.
Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting fortnight, I'll put it that way. Like last week we were sort of midway through, obviously, difficulty adjustments, so it was a bit tricky to sort of see where we were going. At the moment it's looking pretty bullish for miners. It seems that we're breaking records left, right and centre when it comes to difficulty increases. We're sitting at an all-time high, which I know is really bad. But at the same point, mining rewards has jumped massively over the last sort of week and a half.
So is that a ordinals effect again, or not really?
It's a bit hard to tell. Like as in transactional volume itself hasn't really increased a lot. There seems to be fees jumping quite a bit, and I think that's due to time frame for blocks.
Okay.
As much as the difficulty has increased, it's been off like one or two massive pumps in hash rate. So we touched sort of 500 plus exahashes once or twice, and that sort of churned through blocks in this like really quick fashion, and then we dropped right back down. So it created this sort of backlog of like, well, blocks are getting mined in 2, 3, 4 minute sort of sections. And so it shot up, difficulty going to jump by 10, 15%.
Yeah.
And then obviously drop back down. So we had like a 4 point something percent rise, or 5.5, I think it was in the end, which is obviously pretty unhealthy. But at the same point, normal transactions has sort of been sitting, transactional reward per block was sort of sitting around 0.18, 0.22 sort of area. At the moment, it's sitting sort of closer to 0.4. So it's quite a lot of extra Bitcoin that we're getting per block. It's sort of jumped up 50 odd % plus. Before I walked in here, I actually went and had a quick squeeze just to make sure that I was still on track. And there's blocks being mined at the moment with like a 0.4546 extra reward. So
why do you think that the difficulty in hash rate and stuff is at this point in the market so high? Is it because the hardware's become a lot cheaper, so everyone's just grabbing so many miners to get in on the passive income earning opportunities?
Definitely got to be a combination of like obviously a lot of big companies getting involved, because obviously if you bought say 100 miners during the bull market and you paid $1 million or whatever it was going to be for them, right?
Yeah.
Your price is obviously astronomical per machine.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can double or triple your terahash rating for the same or less investment, double down, get a higher reward. As much as your profitability isn't going to be incredible right now, if you're putting money into Bitcoin at all, then you obviously believe it's going to continue to go up. More conviction, pushing higher and higher.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty positive thing.
You just label it down to setting up for what's to come, the bull market.
100%.
As you say, prices of hardware is at all-time low prices. It's...
Do you recall at all in the past bear market if difficulty and and hash rate was doing a similar thing?
Exact same thing, yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't it right before China?
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, it was a weird one because China banned mining,
Crashed
so we
the
saw
planet,
40% of the network hash rate come off just before the halving, and then obviously people, reconvened their miners into different places and got them back online. But yes, it was just before the halving. It was that situation. It's like, why is there so much hash rate on? And then obviously the halving came through, and so pretty much the same setup.
Yeah. Cool.
I just think more and more people see the conviction in it. As much as your profitability isn't now, it's irrelevant what it is now. When I talk to clients, it really doesn't matter if Bitcoin's at 30, 40, 50K now. It's going to be, 5-10 years down the track when you're actually looking to offload your BTC.
Yeah.
If you compare it to like mining, real mining, like mining gold or whatever, they spend a hell of a lot of money setting up this infrastructure, digging the hole, blah, 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 blah. Think of that as what, like now you're buying the hardware, setting it all up. Then you start extracting, and then you're obviously selling it at a later date. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, especially like even with new machines, like I'll touch on that now. Like I guess at the moment, the hottest property on the market that we're seeing is those S19Ks. And the main reason behind that is because, it's got a 43% profit ratio at the moment, which is nuts considering where we are in the market. For the price of, $4,500 or whatever they are for pre-order, you can't go wrong with that. You're gonna be profitable right now, but at the same point, you're gonna be massively profitable come 2-3 years because you're obviously going to be really well stead with your efficiency.
Yeah.
Similar to what people are doing at the moment with those Casper miners, it's the polar opposite. It's get them on real quick and let's make money while the sun's shining.
So speak to us about these beautiful Casper miners and give us a rundown of the Casper chart whilst you're at it.
Mate, it's been a very, very fun week with Casper. Obviously,
I'm
coin
glad
is...
we went and bought these Casper miners.
I can imagine that you're happy that you went and bought some of these Casper miners. It's been a good ride, but far out. It's been hard to keep up with. The chart itself speaks, volumes. It did an all-time high yesterday or the day before. I think it was 5 and a bit cents or something. So it's definitely pushing up pretty well.
Yeah, I think it topped I can't remember if it was 5.4 cents or 54 cents. 54 or 55 cents. So I think the prior ath was 52. But the good thing about that chart is that from a technical standpoint, it's making high highs and then high lows. So if you're looking at it from a high time frame, purpose is that even though it's kind of gone to ath and it's come down a bit, if it puts in another higher low, you can then expect it to just kind of continue to climb that way. Kind of like BTC is doing at the moment. And you'll see that chart in the Chronicle, and you know what? Maybe at the end of the Chronicle, I'll add in a Casper chart for people to look at as well as the miners.
It's solid. I like it.
It's at a $1 billion market cap now.
Yeah, it's got a $1 billion market cap now. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Still pretty low.
Yeah,
considering. I reckon it can go higher. We're still getting around $400 a day on the KS3s.
More than that.
Yeah,
like the Bitmain ones at the moment are doing 470 odd bucks a day.
Yeah,
they're pretty solid. I mean, there's no
KS3Ms are better.
But there's no newer release yet. We haven't so they're at 8 terahashes. Yeah,
No, 9.4s.
9.4.
Yeah, they upgraded it.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's no newer release models.
No, nothing. They can't even keep up at the moment. Like that's the thing at the moment that's made it really hard is because, so say for example, Ice River and Bitmain's going through like legal stuff at the moment because they're trying to charge suppliers more money. So there's very limited stock of their machines. Whereas Ice River, there's not enough chips. They just cannot make them fast enough. And so they're literally selling like October batches.
With price going up.
They don't want to get in touch with NVIDIA how well they're doing.
No, I wish. They're probably waiting 15,000 people behind. It's just literally like they're trying to wait to get stock.
Yeah, Casper's price is going up. Supply of new miners is
very, very short. Their updates with prices are legitimately changing nearly every 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like the other day when Casper did its all-time high, the price per machine jumped up by $2 or $3 grand in the space of 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's very fluid.
I think the thing I like the most about Casper and the position it's in now is, yes, it's doing really strong, but to be aware that we are still pretty much in a confirmed bear market and that you don't often see projects go from, as low as $0 to $1 billion in market cap, in the space of, what is it, a few months or this year, we'll call it.
Yeah.
That isn't something like Pepe or something with no real utility, whereas Casper has real utility. It's a really efficient, system. And it's just that you see these projects like Pepe go to $1 billion, and I think what would Pepe be at now, 200 million maybe. I highly doubt.
Is it still around? I thought it died.
No, it is. Yeah, but I highly doubt you'd see something like Casper with real utility lose 80% of its value in 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah,
so.
doubt it.
Looking promising. It's good as well because we've had a fair few surprisingly new clients.
Loads.
Like
which is
jump
awesome.
into multiples of these. Pretty crazy.
Yeah,
so,
100%. It's
They're
really good fun.
They're the new shiny toy.
Exactly right. And it's good because like you can get in, like the way that I look at it is that you can get in for as little as $2,000, but then you can obviously go up and get the 60,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You are able to do it irrespective of who you are in a sense.
So
Get
is
your
that
toes wet, then jump in the pool.
Yeah, exactly right. I've heard a few clients do
so?
that.
Just for the listeners out there, the smaller one is the KS3M.
Nah, the KS0. So that's like the best at-home miner. So that's about $2,000. It's only making $5 a day.
Okay.
If you're looking to be a bit more serious, there was KS1 and 2s, which they're no longer making. They
Right.
just can't.
Yep.
I just don't think they can do it with everything else. The next level is the KS3M. That's sort of floating price-wise, sort of 25 to 32,
Okay,
depending if you're going immediate or future batches.
Yeah.
They're making like $300 a day. So it's a massive step up from making $5 a day to making 300.
Yeah.
So the ROI is like 120 days,
Yeah.
which is ludicrous.
Yeah.
But amazing.
Yeah.
See what happens if the price goes up. That'd be nice, but it's good as it is. I reckon that's a wrap for today.
Love it.
Covered a lot off. We'll be back next week. Anything to touch on there?
No, just as usual. If you're interested in the day trading academy that we spoke of, that's a lot cheaper than the course. And if you're a trader out there and you kind of know your way around the exchanges and you understand Fibonacci and how to do trade setups, please get in touch with myself, Taylor, or Will if that interests you. And of course, if you're interested in any of the miners, Taylor's your man.
Absolutely. And if you want to read about the topics that we covered off today, you can do that in the link on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're listening to.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Also, if you listen to it and you reach out to us, tell us. We love knowing what we do. I'll give you a discount.
There you go. Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Yeah.